some overview about the software which we're going to use. So, so today it will be an introduction session regarding LabVIEW, right? So which is the software which we are going to see in the next 6 days. So yes, the first we'll be seeing where and all the LabVIEW software or the National Instruments hardware and software are being used, and following by that we'll just start with the LabVIEW environment, what exactly it is and how it is used in the industries and all those things, right? So speaking about my company, so we are VI Solutions, a test and automation company here in Bangalore. So we are academic as well as service partners of National Instruments. So the National Instruments are the founders of the software LabVIEW, which we are going to see right next. So yes, we are the service as well as academic partners of National Instruments. So we provide engineering solutions basically for a wide range of sectors and applications. Okay? For example, embedded systems, AD, DAC, as well as wired and wireless industrial communication. So we provide engineering solutions for all kind of problems which are prevailing in the engineering sector. So speaking about engineering problems, so what we call a problem in engineering is nothing but a problem is something which comes to us with a required solution, right? So we need to provide the solution to that. So a problem generally is something some company or some industry needing our help to provide a particular requirement get satisfied. Okay? So that is generally we call it as a problem. And the engineering problems are present in various domains. Fine. So for example, as shown here, we have semiconductors, automotive, aerospace and defense, or electronics, transportation and heavy equipment, wireless. So these are all the main sectors or domains where, so I'll stop here for a minute. So Ravi Kumar, I can't see the presentation if it will. So is there anyone who's facing the same issue? So for me, it says I'm presenting and I can also see my presentation here listed here. So is there anyone else who cannot see my presentation? So I think the people who cannot see my presentation can exit the meeting and rejoin. You can try that. Maybe it would work. So kindly try to rejoin the presentation by leaving. So still no. So if it is not visible, just go to people. So you should find my name twice. Okay. So one should be just Ram Prakash and another one should be Ram Prakash's presentation. So you should find my name twice. So the second one which you find will be my presentation. Yes, that yeah, two persons on a bike. It's my profile only. So it should come twice. I think my name will be repeated twice.
Excuse me, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
I could see in people your name, and
Okay.
is one thing Ram Prakash, and second one is Ram Prakash presentation.
Yes,
I
Ram Prakash
pinned,
presentation should be my screen.
yeah, I pinned on that, but I couldn't see the presentation.
Okay. So is there anyone else facing the same issue, or is it only? Okay. So I'll just restart my presentation once again. So kindly check it now. I have restarted my presentation.
Sir, initially when you shared that initial screen is coming, but I couldn't see PPT anytime.
No, PPT have just not shown here. Right now, can you see it?
Yes.
I couldn't, sir. I couldn't.
Now it's visible, sir. PPT is visible, sir.
Okay, so I think now it should be visible because I haven't switched to the PPT right now. I was
Yes,
just
now it's
checking
visible,
the.
sir.
I hope now it should be fine for everyone.
Yes, sir. Yes, now it's visible, sir.
Okay, so thank you. So we'll just continue. So yes, we were speaking about the engineering problems, right? So which we people in the industry provide solution or try to provide a solution for them. So these are the domains where Natural Instruments also has its foot, meaning that they provide solution to even more of the domains present here. So, for example, so let's take about LabVIEW alone. Okay, so for today we are going to be introduce. So I'm going to be introducing you to the LabVIEW platform. So just uh, stick with the LabVIEW platform. So where do they use LabVIEW? So I was just giving a hype about LabVIEW that the Natural Instruments will be providing solutions to various domains, almost all engineering domains present here. So where do they use LabVIEW? So here are some of the list of companies or industries which use National Instrument hardware as well as the LabVIEW software. So you can see now see some very big organizations such as Tesla, Microsoft, NASA, SpaceX, Qualcomm, and Analog Devices, ARM, Xilinx. So you can see all kind of organizations here. So if you take Tesla, it is an so yes. So if you take Tesla, it is an automotive company, and if you take NASA, it is a space research company, and if you take ARM and Xilinx, these are semiconductor companies, and also Boeing, it is an aerospace company, and you can also see some semiconductor based companies here, like even you can see Qualcomm, Analog Devices, Texas Instruments, and all these organizations are using the Natural Instrument software as well as their hardware. Okay, so a Natural Instrument was actually is is not new here. So the LabVIEW software itself was actually found in the year 1991. So it is here for around 30 years by this time. So these are some major list of companies which are using LabVIEW. Fine. So I have mentioned SpaceX. They are using LabVIEW as well as the National Instrument. So they have released what their software engineering engineers are using. So they have released this post. So you can see this in Google itself. Okay, so this is something like what their software engineers at SpaceX work on. Okay, you can see it here. So there itself you can see that LabVIEW is being used. So where LabVIEW will be used there is to so basically if you use NI hardware, right? So LabVIEW will be the best choice to for data visualization. So majorly these companies, these aerospace and space research companies use LabVIEW for their data visualization and also very precise data acquisition. Okay, so National Instrument or NI's hardwares are actually known for their very precise nature. So those hardwares are very precise, and LabVIEW is actually a programming environment. Okay, or you can also call it as a programming language. By, like, for example, you have Python, C, Java. Okay, so these are all programming languages, right? So LabVIEW can also be termed as a programming language itself because it's actually individual and you need not know anything else before you're trying to know this. So yes, and the main advantage. Okay, so there are several advantages for using this LabVIEW platform. So the main advantage people see is its programming type. Okay, so here you're not going to type a single line of code even or a single word of code. So here everything is going to be graphical. Okay, so yeah, it is a graphical programming tool used to solve engineering problems. Yes, everything is going to be graphical. Everything is going to be presented or represented in terms of blocks. Okay, so there are some similar softwares, but not as heavy or as useful as this one, LabVIEW. So yes, basically speaking, the main advantage of LabVIEW will be its programming nature. So everything will be in a graphical manner. So you'll be not expected to type any code going inside that. Right? So this is the main advantage of LabVIEW. So yeah, before going into LabVIEW, like what exactly it is, how we are going to work with that. So let us compare it with the other programming languages so that you'll just have a clear idea about the trade-offs in using LabVIEW. So we have some common programming languages in using. So I feel most of the colleges in India uses some of these programming languages are shown in the screen. So it can be C, C++, Java, Python, as well as MATLAB. Right? These are the programming languages or programming environment currently in usage in most of the academic part in this country, right? So one common thing between all these programming languages is that all these are text based. Okay, so yeah, C, C++, Python, Java, and MATLAB. So everything is text based programming environments. So meaning that you have to write the code, right? You have to type it line by line. So that's why these are all named as text based programming languages. And here it will be the coding style of how you work with C or MATLAB or Python. So you're going to be typing the code line by line. So you have some fixed syntax for it. And so this is how the coding style will be for these text-based programming languages. Whereas in LabVIEW, so you can see these two codes are present here. So these are all some simple codes. So here you have the coding style in LabVIEW. So actually the picture is not that much clear. So yes, so we have some blocks here, okay? So and we know it is trying to add two inputs and give one output, okay? So I know it may not be much clear. So once we pitch in into the software, I can just explain you in a better way. Right? So this is how the coding style will be. So we'll have wires, you have some blocks here and there, and you have something like functions here. This is going to add those two numbers and give you the output. So everything is going to be in a graphical way. So this is what you call the graphical way. So you're not going to type anything, or you're not going to remember any syntax of any sort. So you're just going to pick and place those objects and make the. So if you're clear with the logic and how you have it in your mind, right? So you can directly interpret it in the LabVIEW software. So this is the main advantage of using LabVIEW, which is programming graphically. Yeah, this is how you give your inputs and outputs. Okay, so yeah, these things will not be clear. So once we move into the software, I just show you. So you can see here it is different, and here it's somewhat different, but both are the screenshots of the same software only. Both are from LabVIEW. So we just have here some blocks represented in colors. And here I have the blocks where I can input the values and get the output. Fine. So this is how the LabVIEW works. Okay, so this is how you enter the value into your LabVIEW program. And yes, so I have told the main advantage of using LabVIEW, which is that yes, it is going to be completely graphical, and you're not going to write any line of code. Okay, so everything is going to be graphical, and it's just going to be pick and place blocks. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. And the other important reason for using LabVIEW is its support or its connectivity for hardware. Okay, so LabVIEW will be compatible to every NI hardware. And so National Instruments is known for its hardware before even releasing its software. Okay, National Instruments is a industrial automation and automation engineering company. So yes, they are known for their very precise data acquisition hardware. So yes, using LabVIEW will make you easily interface between the NI hardware as well as not only NI hardware. So LabVIEW also have connectivity or interface between other major controllers or other major hardwares like Arduino, Raspberry Pi. So LabVIEW has built-in support for Raspberry Pi, and even if you want to interface your Arduino, any of the Arduino boards with LabVIEW, it is possible. Yes, you can code in LabVIEW for your Arduino board, or you can code in LabVIEW for your Raspberry Pi board. Yes, it is possible. So yes, the other main reason for using LabVIEW is its adaptability and connectivity for other hardwares present in the market. Okay, not only the NI hardwares, so it will also be it can also be worked or interfaced with other available hardwares also. So that is the main advantage of using LabVIEW. So here in LabVIEW, okay, I'm saying that everything is going to be graphical. So actually, the expansion, okay, I think we haven't come across the expansion. Yes, here it is. Right. So LabVIEW is actually an acronym which stands for Laboratory Virtual Instrumentation Engineering Workbench. So this is the expansion for LabVIEW. It's an acronym. So yes, it says Laboratory Virtual Instrumentation Engineering Workbench. Okay, so what we call it as a virtual instrument, because so the meaning of this line is that LabVIEW is a tool where you engineer virtual instruments. Okay, so meaning that you are going to develop some virtual instruments. Okay, so that is the meaning of the acronym LabVIEW. Okay, so yeah, as it says, you're going to engineer or you're going to develop the virtual instruments. So here in LabVIEW, every code you make, okay, so every code you make will be called as a VI. Okay, VI, so which stands for a virtual instrument actually. And the extension of your code, okay, as you have for C, you'll be saving your code as .c, and for C++, you'll be saving it as .cpp, and for Python, you'll be saving it as .py, right? So as that, you'll be saving all your LabVIEW codes with the extension .vi. Okay? VI stands for virtual instrument. Here in LabVIEW, every code you make will be called as a virtual instrument only. We should be considering every code we make as a virtual instrument. So what is a virtual instrument? Let me explain about that. Yes, as I told, every code we make in LabVIEW uh, is or will be considered as a virtual instrument. So virtual instrument is nothing. So what we call it as an instrument. So anything which either takes in something from us or just gives out some information. Okay. So everything we use is an instrument. Okay. Everything which is useful for us is an instrument. So for example, take a watch. Okay. So everyone uses a watch. Watch is an instrument. Okay. It is a physical instrument which we will be wearing it. Fine. So the use of the watch, okay, it's to show us the time. Okay, is there any other instrument or device which can show us the time? Yes, we have our mobile phone, so which can show us the time, and we also have our laptop, which can also show us the time. So how? So yeah, showing the time is a work of the watch, right? So how these two, the laptops and the mobile phone, can do it? So what is present inside our mobile? So the clock software is there, right? So that is an example for a virtual instrument. So you don't have a clock here. Okay? The clock is not physically present inside your mobile phone. So what is there inside your mobile phone as an application? Okay, so it's nothing but a virtual instrument. The same thing in your laptop. And take any another example of you take a calendar. Okay, calendar is also a physical instrument, but we have it as an application in your both your mobile phone and your PC. So that is also an example for a virtual instrument. Also take for example your stopwatch. Your stopwatch was before, okay, before these mobile phones and all evolved. Stopwatch will be a different instrument. Okay, it will be like something these sports masters will be having in their hand, right, to measure like how many time it took for a single lap in a sprint. So that is actually a stopwatch, but now we have it in our mobile itself. Okay, inside the clock application itself, we have that stopwatch option or the timer option. So that also is an example of a virtual instrument. So the instrument is not physically present, but yes, whatever that instrument is going to do to me, that virtual instrument also will do. Okay? So the advantages of virtual instrument is that, so say, so if you take a watch, okay, you take a watch, so it is a instrument, but it can only show me time. I cannot calculate anything using my watch. Okay, so yeah, there is a calculator watch. I've seen that, but generally speaking, your watch cannot do any calculations. Fine. So, or take for any example, your watch cannot show you the temperature. Okay, but the advantage of the virtual instrument is, so if you have a mobile phone or if you have a PC, a computer, so you can have multiple number of virtual instruments, right? So your mobile phone acts as a phone. Okay, you can make calls using that. So that is a particular application. Okay, your phone is also one of the applications present in your mobile, and yes, you can access the internet. That is one of the virtual instrument you have it, and yes, you can view the time. You can set alarm. So alarm is also an great example for virtual instrument. You can view the calendar, and you can also use the stopwatch. You can use the torch. Okay? You can use the torch and all those things, or and also camera, and all those applications are present in your mobile phone. So these are all nothing but virtual instrument, which are all virtually present. Okay, if you want, you can just install it. If you don't want, you can uninstall. Right. So that is an example for virtual instrument. So here in LabVIEW, so as I told, we are going to develop virtual instruments. So the two instruments which I have displayed in this slide, the one is CRO and the other one is a digital multimeter, right? So both of them are majorly used instruments in laboratories in engineering colleges. So yes, the one is CRO and the other one is the digital multimeter. The CRO will be used to display the signal from somewhere where it is generated, and the digital multimeter is will be used to measure some of the parameters, okay, electronic parameters such as the voltage, the ampere, such that. Okay, so these two are a physical instrument. So the next slide. So here are the virtual instruments. Okay, so these two screens which you see here. So one is named as oscilloscope, and the other one is named as digital multimeter. Right. So both of these screens are developed by the LabVIEW software only. Okay, so both of the screens which you are seeing is a LabVIEW screen. So these applications are developed by LabVIEW. So these are nothing but, so this can work as a CRO. Okay, this is a CRO. You can see the knobs here. So whatever knobs present here, whatever functionality or options present here is available here also. So this is a virtual instrument. So how it is going to work? So this actually has these input BNC type dots, right? So this has two channels, but so actually, if you're using the LabVIEW software in your PC will not have that these kind of slots, right? Your PC will not have these kind of slots. So how we are going to do that is, So yes, so we are going to, so we must have to interface it with an hardware. Okay, so with an external hardware, so which is not going to be this much big. Okay, so yeah, the hardware which you are going to interface, like say for example, you're going to use this multimeter. So you're going to, you can use some NI hardware. You have some hardware like MyDAC and MyLeo, so which are all the student version of data acquisition hardware. So if you can use these two applications using that hardware. Okay, so that is not that much big. So it will be just the size of your mobile phone, probably 5.5 inches. So yes, that's the size of the hardware itself. And yes, so these are all the example for the virtual instrument. So this oscilloscope, so now as you can see, this CRO can measure me the signals. Okay, but it cannot measure me the exact voltage or ampere or the resistance as this multimeter can do. This multimeter can show me the values of how much voltage or ampere is present, but it cannot display the signals for you, right? So there is a shortage. There is a, yeah, you cannot call it as a disadvantage. So these hardwares are just manufactured for that cause, right? But if you're using a virtual instrument, the advantage is you can use your same PC for this oscilloscope as well as your digital multimeter. So I'm just taking just two different virtual instrument as example. You can have number. You can even have thousands and thousands of virtual instruments made like this. And the only thing you have to do is to connect the suitable hardware for these virtual instruments to work with. Oh, yes. I've just, I think I just said enough about LabVIEW, the software. So I'll just stop here for some 1 or 2 minutes. So if there are any doubts until now, so you can ask, you can just unmute yourself and ask, or you can just ask yourself in the chat window. I'll just wait here for 1 or 2 minutes. If there are any doubts, you can ask it to me now. So fine. I hope there is no doubt. Let me just move on to the LabVIEW software. So I don't know if everyone present here has the software. So let me open the version which I have. So I have installed LabVIEW 2018. Okay, so that's the version which I'm using. So the latest version is LabVIEW 2020. So, but I'm using the version LabVIEW 2018. So every year, LabVIEW will be releasing a new version of the software with some improvement with itself. So let me just open the LabVIEW software now. So yes, so as soon as you open the software, right, so you'll be taken to the screen which says the LabVIEW version and two options called create project or open existing. So yes, so this window which you see here, okay, right, is called as the LabVIEW getting started window. So every time when you open or when you click the application, you'll be taken to the screen. So this is called as the getting started window, okay, of the LabVIEW software. as you can see, yeah, as I told, in LabVIEW, every file you create or every code you make will be called as a VI. So I'll not be calling it as a program or code for now. So it will be called a VI. A VI is nothing but a particular code in LabVIEW. Okay, so how to create a new VI? Okay. So we'll just look in later about this. So a project is a different thing. A project in LabVIEW doesn't mean a single code, okay, as you have it in Python or C. A project is a different thing in LabVIEW. And yeah, you can also open existing file directly from here. But as of now, as we are new to this software, so let me show you how to create a new video. I hope everything is fine here regarding my audio on the screen. So yes, so for creating a new VI, so there are actually two options. Either you can go directly to File and New VI. So let me take the magnifier. Oh, yes. Let me zoom in a bit. Yes. So under File, you'll be having this New VI. So either you can use this option or the shortcut present here, which is Control plus N. So if I use that shortcut, I've just clicked once. Okay? So I just click Control N shortcut once, or let me close it and do it again. So again, I'm just taken back to this window and go to File and New VI. So you can see as soon as I click New VI, there are actually two different windows which I've opened. Let me zoom in. You can see the name of the file is untitled2. Ignore that. But next to that, you can see two different names. So one is untitled2 block diagram, and the other one is the untitled2 front panel. So there are two different windows. So yes, actually each and every VI or each and every program in LabVIEW will have two different windows. Okay, so they will be having individual advantages and individual uses. So just explain it to you now. So as of now, notice each VI in your LabVIEW will have two different windows. So one is the block diagram and the another one is the front panel. So yes, for making each and every program, for developing a program in LabVIEW, you need both of these windows. Okay, both of these windows will be used in order for you to develop a program. So for just making it easy for us to work, there's an option, go to Window, and you have an option called Tile Left and Right. Okay, so this is the usual setting how these block diagram on and different panel needs to be placed. If you click that, you can see the front panel, the untitled2 front panel, is being tiled exactly off of the screen to the left hand side, and the untitled2 block diagram, as you can see here, is being exactly tiled in off of the screen to the right hand side. And so this is how we usually develop the code. So this is how the screens need to be placed. So let me do it once again. So in order to create a new VI, let's go to File and New VI. We'll be getting two different windows. So in any of the windows, so even in block diagram, you will be having this window option as well as the front panel. Okay, just go to Window and tile left and right. So every time your front panel will be going to the left hand side. Whatever you have in the left hand side, right, it is the front panel, and whatever you have it in the right hand side, so this is a block diagram. So what is the difference? So by seeing it, you can say some difference, like this for this there is no any background grids and all, so it is pure white and there is no lines in between. If you see the front panel, you can see the background color is different. It's somewhat grayish, and you can also see the grids. Okay, there are grid lines present in the front panel and not in the block diagram. So yeah, this is the visual difference. Okay, when you see these two windows, these are the difference you can But what are all the difference these two windows has regarding the functionality? Okay, yeah, these two are not same. Okay, these two are actually dependent to each other. These two windows are not the same either. These two windows are dependent to each other, or you can say it as interdependent. Okay, so how these two are dependent to each other? If you take the front panel, right, which is the window present in the left hand side, so this takes care of all the user interface. This window will be taking care of all the user interface, meaning that what we call it as user interfaces, how user is going to interact with that particular application, right? Say, for example, if you want to enter an input, if you want to change a value, okay, of an input parameter, you'll be doing it in the front panel only. And yet you will be able to do it in the front panel only. Or for example, if you want to view an output, if you want to display an output to the user, that also will be done in the front panel only. So this is the only use of the front panel. So this is where you'll be giving in the inputs and you'll be taking out the output. Right? So yeah, here in LabVIEW, we call the inputs and outputs as the control and indicator. Okay, so whichever terminal or whichever blocks which is going to where you're going to give the input, okay, or the user is going to pass in the input, that will be called as control, and whichever block is going to display you the output, that will be called as an indicator. So we just go back to the slide, and it is where we stopped. As I have explained very much about the virtual instruments. So here are the parts of a VI. Okay, so we know what is a VI. So VI stands for a virtual instrument. So VI contains majorly three main components. Okay, the one is the front panel. The second is a block diagram. So both of which we know what exactly it is. And the other one is the icon or connector pane. So I'll just come to this later. Okay, after explaining about the front panel and block diagram, I'll just come to this. So as of now, as I said, let me explain about the front panel. Okay. The front panel is the user interface for the VI. Okay. This is where all the user interface will be taking place. You build the front panel with controls and indicators. Controls are nothing but inputs. The input block, which is going to take the value from the user and give it to the program. That we call it as a control. And indicators. Indicators are nothing but which is going to take the value from the program and display or give it to the user. Okay, so why this name control and indicator? So generally, if you take any physical instrument, right? So the engineering term for, so if you have any buttons or if you have any knobs in your instrument, the engineering term actually to refer it will be a control. Okay, so all those buttons or knobs present in your instrument should be called as a control. Okay, so that's why in LabVIEW also they named it as a control. And yeah, in the same instrument, if you have a display which actually displays you the output, that they generally call it as an indicator. Right, so that's why in LabVIEW also the components of front panels should be either of these two things. Okay, anything present in your front panel, either it will be a control or it will be an indicator. The control is nothing but using that block, you're going to give in input to the program. An indicator is nothing but using that block, you're going to view the output. So this is the work of the front panel. So speaking about the block diagram, so as I told, the front panel is the user interface part of the VI, and the block diagram is where all our codes will go. This is where we are going to actually code your logic. Okay, so that's the difference between the front panel and block diagram. So front panel is just for user interface. You're going to just give your inputs here and take out the output. All your codes, all your logics which you're going to make for your code will be presented here in the block diagram. Fine. So yes, I go to the next slide. Let me just make it large. Yes, the front panel contains the graphical source code. So any logic you're going to make for your code will be present in your block diagram and not the front panel. Your front panel will just have something like this. Okay, say for example, this is a control, and this is an indicator. Okay, so you're just going to give in some values. You're going to give some value here, and you're going to give the output in this graph. Right? So this is how your front panel will always be. And your block diagram, you're going to make the code. Let me just quickly show you some example programs. Okay, so as we have a limitation for time, I think the session is for 1.5 hours. We already took 50 minutes. I have 40 minutes to just show you how this LabVIEW programming environment works. Okay, so that's, I feel, a short of time. So let me quickly show you some example codes. Okay, let me develop here programming environment. So is there any doubts about the front panel and block diagram part? So if you have any doubt, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can ask it in the chat window. So someone has asked for the recorded video. I am not recording the video, man. I'm not supposed to record it. And I was also not told about the attendance link. So give me a minute. I'll just confirm regarding the attendance link.
Hello. Sir, attendance link will be given within 5 minutes, sir. Hello. Mr. Ramprakash, sir. Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Attendance link will be shared within 5-10 minutes. And all the sessions are being recorded. It will be uploaded in YouTube.
Okay, sir.
So sorry for that. So regarding the attendance, I think you must be asking your coordinator for this session for that. So I was not told regarding the attendance, and regarding the recorded
Sir,
session also I
I'll
was
give
not
the
told to
attendance
record.
link
I'm
within
not
5
supposed
minutes,
to
sir.
record.
Mr. Ramprakash, sir.
Okay,
Ramprakash,
sir.
sir.
Okay.
Am I audible? I'll give the
Yeah,
attendance
hello.
link within 5
Yes.
minutes, sir. In the chat box, it will be given, sir.
Okay, sir. Fine. Okay, sir.
Okay,
Fine.
sir.
Thank you. So I hope it's clear. So I'll just continue the session now. Yes, I hope everything was clear regarding the front panel and block diagram. So these two are actually the major parts of any LabVIEW code you take. Okay. Yes. So the first application, let me try to build a simple addition program. Okay. So I think A normal addition program, either if you take in C, C++, or even Python, so it will take a minimum of 5 lines, okay, 4 to 5 lines of code for you to take the input from the user, add the value, and again display the output to the user. So to make this logic, you must have at least 5 lines of code in any text-based programming language you take. But yeah, let me show you how to do that in LabVIEW. Fine. So the first thing I want, okay, so right now I'm going to add 2 numbers and display the output to the user. Okay, this is what my code is going to do. So now I know that number of inputs is 2 and the number of output is 1. Okay, I'm going to add 2 numbers and display the output. As I told, in LabVIEW, the inputs will be called as controls and the output will be called as indicators. And these two controls and indicators are a part of front panel. So let me zoom in. So in your front panel, okay, anywhere in your front panel, if you right click, make a simple right click in your mouse, you'll be getting this palette called controls. Okay, the main name for this palette will be controls, and this will be available only in the front panel. If you right click on the block diagram, you'll be getting a different palette called functions. So as I told, the controls and indicators are a part of just front panel. Okay, and block diagram is where you're going to make your codes. Okay, that's why you're getting the functions here. Right, so this is the reason I'm getting 2 different palettes in these 2 different windows. Right, so right now I know that I need 2 different inputs. Okay, 2 inputs and 1 output. I need to take the input block now. So as I'm going to add 2 numbers, right? So my code is going to add 2 numbers. So that actually addition comes under numeric, right? So my input and output should be capable of displaying numbers or taking in numbers. So you have some different data types here, like numeric, Boolean, string. Okay, these three, numeric, Boolean, and string, are 3 major data types of LabVIEW. Numeric is nothing but that particular controller indicator will just deal with numbers. Boolean is nothing but just on or off. Okay, like you can call it as Boolean or binary. Okay, you just have 2 different values, so they just work like a switch, okay? Either on or off. And you have string. Okay? A string is nothing but I think you people will be familiar with the word string. So this takes in characters, okay, either numbers, alphabets, as well as special characters. Okay? So these 3 are actually common between any programming languages. You have some data types which refer numeric, for example, integer, float, right? These data types here in LabVIEW, we call it wholly as numeric and as well as Boolean. So in text-based programming languages, they have 2 between true or false. Here it is, you can notate it as anything. So here it will be just on or off. Okay, so anything, if you see the indicators of a Boolean, it is LED lights. It can be either on or off. And string is nothing but characters. So you're going to type the value and get this. So right now I'm going to add 2 numbers. So for that, I'll go to inside numeric. Okay, if you just move the cursor above that numeric sub palette, you'll get another palette. So we can even pin this. Okay, if I move the cursor near that pin icon, you can see if I click that, this particular palette will be pinned, and even if I click anywhere outside, the palette will not be gone. If I don't pin it, if you click anywhere outside, the palette will disappear. So I'll just pin and let me go to the numeric palette. Here you have a number of icons present here, right? So I'll just take 2 numeric controls. You can see, so I'm not going to use these things, fine? So yeah, these 2 are will be majorly used because, so there are actually 2 types of controls and indicators. One is digital and another one is analog. Right? So these 2 are this is a digital control and this is a digital indicator. So what we call it as a digital. So I can take an example of watch. Right? So if you take an analog watch or an analog clock, you cannot actually very precisely say what time it is exactly. or take a thermometer. Okay? So you cannot say very exactly what the current temperature is. Okay? If you, I'm speaking about the real instrument. Okay? But that is actually an analog thing. Okay? You have a difference between analog watch and digital watch, right? So seeing the analog clock, okay, without any divisions. You have divisions actually. There are some clocks which will be available without any divisions in the analog clock. Actually, by seeing that, you cannot actually say what the time exactly is, or even with the divisions, it will take some time for you to say. But if you have some digital clock, right? So right now, even your mobile phone, usually it will be showing the digital time. So that you can just read the time. So it will be displaying in the digital manner. So the same thing here. Everything will be giving out numbers. Every block here will be either giving out numbers or taking in numbers. The only difference is these two will be directly displaying the numbers, right? And these two will be in a symbolic manner. Okay, so right now I'm going to do an additional program. So I need two controls. In LabVIEW, controls mean input. So I'll just take this and place it there. As soon as I place it, you can see the label. So this we call it as a label, the name for your control. That will be highlighted automatically. So you can give it whatever name you want. So I'll give it as A. So name this control as A. I need another control because to add two inputs, right? I need two controls. So I'll place another one. Again, it will be highlighted and I'll type B. Okay. So right now I have two controls in my program, right? So now you can see one thing that has happened automatically in the block diagram. I haven't taken anything from this. I've just placed two controls here in my front panel, but automatically from nowhere, I got these two blocks in my block diagram. So how in the sense? So this is my control, right? So both of these are my control, and I've got the same blocks, okay? So which looks exactly similar except the label. So this is nothing but this we call it as a terminal, the terminal for that control. So let me zoom out, and if I double click this, you can see that particular control will be highlighted there, and if I double click this, that particular control will be highlighted there. So this is why, in the sense, why I am having this terminal here in my block diagram. The reason is, so yes, this front panel is just for a user interface, right? So I cannot connect wires or anything. I cannot do such things, but I need this value here. Okay? So without using this input, I cannot add and display the value to the output. Fine. So to take this value from the control present in this front panel to this block diagram, we have a terminal like this. So this terminal is actually nothing the same as this. Whatever value you enter right here, it will be coming out through this terminal here in your block diagram so that you can use that value in your code. That's the only reason we have those terminals here. So without these terminals, there is no way to bring those values here. So even if I delete this, right, I've just deleted this from the block diagram, both of them will be gone. So that's what I said. The block diagram and the front panel are interdependent. Okay? Without one, the other one cannot work. Or without one, the other one feels useless. Okay. So say that you have a number of controls and indicators here in the front panel. And if you make no connections in your block diagram, actually this seems useless, right? So that's why I just said that both of them are interdependent. Fine. Yes, now I have two controls. Now how to change the values inside the control? So there are actually three different ways. Either you can see you will be having this increment and decrement buttons near to that control, right? So if you click that arrow, you'll be having two different arrows here, one facing downwards and one facing upward. So if you click the upward arrow, the value is going to increase, and if you click the downward arrow, the value is going to decrease. Right? So same thing for every control we have. So this is one way of entering the value into the control. The another way is directly selecting that value. So if you just double click inside that white box, all value will be selected, backspace, and whatever value you want, right, and enter it here, and just click once outside, the value will be pasted. So this also can be done. Fine. The can directly enter the value here. Third way is using your mouse wheel. You can also move your mouse wheel up and down to change the value. So now, right now, I'm moving my mouse wheel. Using your mouse wheel also, you can change the value present in the numeric control. So these are three different ways you can enter the value. Right now, I have two controls. So these two are controls, and I need an indicator. I have this numeric indicator next to my numeric control. I'll take it and place it here. So I'll name it as C. So yes. So in my block diagram, so right now my work in my front panel is finished. I just have two controls and one indicator. So I don't have anything to do with this hereafter. So let me move to the block diagram. So you can see the difference between the control and the indicator directly. Okay? So these two are controls and this one is my indicator. The first difference is, or this is the main difference. You can see the arrow mark present here. Okay? In this block also you have some arrow marks facing outside, and here you have the arrow mark placed inside. Okay? This means that this is the control, right? This is going to give value to the program. That's why the arrow mark is faced outside. Okay? You're going to take the value from here. So for the indicator, it's the opposite. This indicator is going to take the value from the program and display it to the user. So this is having the arrow mark facing inside. Yes. So I have the control, I have the indicator. So right now I want to add this program. Yes. I'll be using functions. So every logic you need to implement will have a similar function. So as we had it in the front panel for the controls and indicators, right? In functions also you have different functions, number of functions for each and every data type. Okay? You take numeric, you have a set of functions. Okay, every subpalette will contain different functions here. And if you take Boolean, you'll be having a set of functions. And if you take string, you'll be having a set of functions, right? And we also have a functions for comparison also, right? So yes, right now I'm going to work with numbers. I'm going to add two numbers. Let me choose this add function. Okay, the first function present in the numeric palette will be the add function. So I'll just take it and place it in my block diagram, right? So yes, here it is. So this is my code. Okay. So after this, I'm not going to take any blocks. That's it. It's finished. So yes, I have two inputs and one output. I have the function also. So you can make the label visible. Okay. Right click on the function, visible items and label. Okay. So we have the label which says the name of the function. You can see the terminals present in that function. Okay. The add function, if you move the cursor near to that function, you can see there are two input terminals and one output terminal. So I also have two controls and one indicator. So now the remaining work is just to connect the wire from here to this terminals. Okay. So the connection will be made through wires. Okay, we call it as wires. So it will also look like wires. So this control, as you can see, if I move the cursor near to the terminal, so this we call it as terminal, as I said. You can see the cursor is changing to something like a wire bundle. Okay, so this is actually a wire bundle. So you can see right now the cursor looks something like plus, and if I move it near to the terminal, it will be changing to a wire bundle. I just make a click there and make a click near the terminal present in the add function. The same thing I'll do for the second control. You can rearrange the wires as you want, and for the output terminal in the add function also, I'll make a click here and connect it to my indicator. So that's it. My code is done actually. So let me check it. So let me change the value here. Let me enter some values in my inputs. I've entered 5 and 3. So how to run the program? Simple. You have a toolbar here. You have some option called run continuously, abort execution, and pause. Okay. I think these names are just straightforward. So run will just run the code a single time. As you can see, I have the output displayed here. So this is my output indicator, right? If I change the value and again if I run, you can see the value changing. To say that you don't want to change it once by once. So if I choose this run continuously, you can see that my code is running now. So how I can say my code is running is, so if the code is running right, this grids will disappear. As you can see, if I choose run continuously, you can see there is no grid. So to stop the code, I'll just click that once again. So avoid using this abort execution. So if you use this run continuously, to stop the code, you can just click it once again to stop. So what is the advantage of using this run continuously? So I just don't have to run it each and every time when I change the value. So right now, as soon as I change the value, right, the value will be updated here in real time, so that I don't want to keep on clicking that run button. Okay? So this is the advantage of using the run continuously. So as I said, avoid using this abort execution. So you're not supposed to use this, because yeah, while you're working in your PC, that's fine, but when your system or your code is interfaced with an hardware, this abort execution can spoil your hardware. And so because your code will have actually opening and closing of references for the hardware. So if you abort execution, the code will stop midway without closing that reference. So your hardware will be keep on running. For that reason, you must avoid using this abort execution. So if you want to stop the code, just click that run continuously once again. Okay, so this is how you'll be coding for the addition program. Okay, so actually I took a long time. Right? So as this is our first code which we are trying to make, I took a long time. So but actually this will not take that much time. Okay, so I was actually explaining each and every single individual terms present here, but that is the main advantage of using this, right? How fast this can be built. Okay? So as I told, any text-based programming languages, you'll be typing in 5 lines. Say that it will take 1 minute to write a program which adds 2 numbers. Let's see how fast this can be done in LabVIEW. So I just take this addition function because I know I'm going to add, right click, create all controls and indicators. Yes, my code is finished. So the first how I did is actually a slower way, or a more decent way of doing it. Right? Like going the front panel, taking the numeric controls and keeping it, and taking the numeric indicator and keeping it, and taking the function from here, and then connecting the wire. So that is the most decent way of doing it. But yeah, if you want to make it faster, what you can do is right click, take that particular function which you want to use, and just right click on that function, create all controls and indicators. Okay, so this option, what it will do is, so anyway this addition function is having just 2 input terminals and 1 output terminals, right? So we'll just create controls for all the input terminals, and we'll create the indicator for all the output terminals, and even now my code will be properly working. There'll be no problem in running my code. So this is how we work with any numeric function. Okay? So say for example you take another control and place it here, name it as Z, and to this control I want to subtract the value from this output. Okay? Say that is my requirement. I just right click, go to numeric and take a subtract function, and you can create a sub branch for your wire like this. Okay? If you move your cursor near to that wire, so again your cursor will change into a wire bundle. Just make a click there, put it inside the first terminal of the subtract function, and the second terminal I'll do this Z control. This is also control, giving me the value. So yes, and for this terminal, if I want to create an indicator, there are 2 ways. Either I can take the indicator from here and give it, or the best way is to move your cursor to the terminal. After getting that wire bundle, right click, create indicator. So this will automatically create an indicator in the block diagram, which also will be reflected in your front panel. So right now, let me try to run the code. You can rearrange your controls and indicators however you want. Okay, both in the front panel as well as in your block diagram. So run this continuously. You can see it is giving me the values correctly, and so there's no problem here. Let's stop it, and now we have seen about the numeric, right? So let's see something about the Boolean. Here in Boolean, I have the same thing, different types of controls, but everything is going to just give me 0 or 1. Okay, even if I take this push button, even if I take this light switch, everything is just going to give me zeros and ones. Okay, that's the work of Boolean. So let me take just two controls and two indicators. I'll take of different types. So you can rearrange the size of the controls and indicators. Okay? So if you move the cursor near to that particular indicator, you'll be having arrow mark to resize it, and you can resize any control or indicator. Fine. So here, as you can see, that this is these two are my controls and these two are my indicators. I can say it from the arrow mark. Okay, where it is pointing. So I'll just move it somewhat down, and let me connect it directly like this. Make sure your wire is proper. We'll connect it directly to this second indicator. And after this, let me just run the code continuously. So right now, as you can see, my input is both my inputs are off. Okay? So by default, it will be in the off state. So my output is also off. So if I switch it on, you can see the LED as I turn it on and off. My LED will also change its color. Okay, this color it's actually you can change. Okay, it's actually customizable. So right now the off color is dark green, and the on color is light green. So you can change it if you want it to be red and black or yellow or green. You can change it as you like. And the same thing for the second control also. So if I turn this on, this will be turning on and off. So let me also show you how to change the color. Just right click on this indicator, go to properties, and yes, you have in the main appearance tab, you have this color. Right now the on color is light green and off color is dark green. So I'll change the off color to black, and the on color I'll change it to yellow. Okay, okay. You can see the off color changed to black, and if I run and if I turn it on, you can see now it is turning on and off in different colors. Yes, the colors here are customizable. So for any Boolean indicator you're using, right, you can change the color. Fine. So that's about the Boolean data type here in LabVIEW. So if you have any doubts until anything now, so you can just ask me. So if there are any doubts, you can ask here. So give me a minute. you please repeat the steps? So can I get a detailed explanation like steps for what? So I can repeat it. I have no problem in that, but from beginning. So fine. Okay, I'll just try to make it short. So yes, from the beginning, if you want to create a new BI, if you want to create a new program, the shortcut is Control N, okay, or File and New BI. You can see the shortcut here, which is Control N. If I use the shortcut, I'll be getting these two windows, which is the front panel and the block diagram. So for these two windows to tile up perfectly in the left and right, I can use the shortcut Control T. That also will be present if you go to Windows, tile left and right. The shortcut is Control T. It's mentioned here. So I just use the shortcut. Yeah, I'll make it brief. I couldn't see the attendance link. Its link has been listed here, the attendance link. So maybe I will. And so this is how your empty program or the empty VI will look. So yes, here in LabVIEW, the inputs will be called as controls and the output will be called as indicators. Fine. So yes, right now I'm just going to show you a basic addition program. So for that, I need two inputs, right? So to add anything, the least number of inputs should be 2, and the output will be 1 for that, right? So I need two inputs, meaning two controls, and one output, meaning one indicator. So two controls and one indicator. So outputs, controls and indicators are actually the department of front panel, the left hand side window, the front panel. So the most decent way or the more usual way, basic way of creating a control indicator is just in your front panel, right click in anywhere in your front panel, right click use your mouse and go to numeric as we are going to be with numbers and take a numeric control and place it in your front panel. Okay, so as soon as you place, the label will be highlighted. You can give any name you want. Let me give number 1. Right now I have one control, so I need another one. So I'll just take another numeric control and name it as number 2. So as I said, if for every block which you are placing it in your front panel, there will be a respective terminal created in your block diagram because I need these two values to be used in the block diagram also. For that reason, I'll be having this blocks replicated. Okay, I can use the term replicated here in the block diagram also. So I also need one indicator. So I'll go to numeric, I'll take a numeric indicator and place it here. I'll name this as output. So this will be my output. So as of now, the work here in different panel is over. Okay. So all the wirings or all the logic which I need to do, I'll be doing it in the block diagram only. So yes. Now I have the controls, the inputs and the indicator, the output. Okay. So right now I want to add these two numbers. So I need an add function. If you right click in your front panel, you'll be getting this palette, the controls palette, where you'll be having all the inputs and output terminals. And here in block diagram, if I right click, I'll be getting all the functions. What are all functions I can do with these values? Okay. Those things I'll be getting here in the block diagram. So let me go to the numeric palette. The first function will be add. Okay. I'll just take and place it here in the block diagram. And zoom in, you can see this has a symbol of plus, meaning that it is add. If you want to see the name of the function, just right click and visible items, go to label. Right. So to connect the wires, right now you can see the terminals present in this add function. If you move the cursor close to this function, okay. This is having two input terminals and one output terminal. This will be having a single terminal. Okay. So this is an input, so I'll connect this to the first terminal. If you move your cursor near to that terminal, your cursor will be changing to a wire bundle. Just make a click there and take that wire to this input terminal. You can always rearrange the wires as you want, and also make the connection to the output side. Just all you have to do is just place the blocks and connect the wires in a proper flow. After this, I can just run the code. Either I can use this run once, okay? This I just run my code once, or I can use this run continuously. This will run my code continuously. I use this run continuously, and if I change the value here, you can see that the output gets changed. Okay? So this, just I said, this is the usual way of creating controls and indicators. But say that you're running out of time, or you're doing this for just testing, so you want to make it fast somehow. So in that cases, you can just go to numeric, go to and just take that function, and on that function, place your cursor, right click, create all controls and indicators. Okay? Even if you use this option, you will be getting the same result. Okay? One thing is that you just have to rearrange the blocks present here. Fine. So both of them are same. The functionality and the output which you are getting from both of the code will be the same. Okay. I'll just stop the code. I hope it's clear now. Yes. So yeah, actually we are running out of time, but I just wanted to show you the loops concept. Okay. So let me create a new VI. I'll go to File, New VI, and I'll just time this time base type. Yes, LabVIEW also has loops. Okay. So every concept, okay, any concept you have it in any other programming language is available here in LabVIEW also. But the only thing is that it will be available in a graphical way, so that it may take some time for you to get used to this. Okay, so that's the only thing. But once you just get used to it, right, it will be very simple, and the flow will be very easy. Just LabVIEW has loops. Okay, so you can ask this question. Okay, I have this run continuously button, which anyway runs my code continuously, which is the work of the loop. So why do I need the loop? Okay, this run continuously button actually has many disadvantages. The first one being that you cannot control the rate. Rate in the sense at what speed your code is repeating. Okay, that you cannot control using this run continuously. And the second and the main disadvantage of this run continuously option is, once you use this run continuously, right, your whole code, what and all present here in the block diagram, will be running each and every time when you are using any hardware. Okay, for example, if you're using any hardware, your whole code must not actually iterate, or your whole code must not actually run repeatedly, because actually your hardware codes, okay, if you are interfacing with any hardware, your code will always be containing a loop, because this is a PC to hardware communication, right? How it will take place in this thing? First, you will be establishing the communication. You just establish the communication between the PC and the hardware. You will just do all the work which you want to do, and then you will just remove that connection for this hardware. Okay, so establishing the connection and removing the connection, these two processes will not happen inside the loop, because so once it is established, so there is no reason I have to keep on removing it and establishing it again. Okay? So once that loop has stopped, so automatically my connection will be established and the code will stop. So the disadvantage of having the run continuously is, if I use that in a hardware code, what will happen is the establishment and the removing of the connection will also keep on iterating each and every time the code is running. So that should not happen. So because it will be happening at a faster rate, which means that unnecessarily many buffer spaces are created in your PC. Okay, so that's actually useless. So that is also a reason why we need loop. So where you can find the loop. Okay, so loop generally or basically it's a part of the block diagram because here only you're supposed to make all your logic. So it's a part of your block diagram. Just right click in your block diagram. So loop is a structure. Okay, it is not a function, it is a structure. So yes, you'll be having your first palette as the structure. There are commonly two types of loops here, a for loop and a while loop. Let me just show you about the while loop. Okay, a for loop is easy to understand, but let me show you about the while loop. So once I click that while loop, right, so I'll be getting this cursor here. So let me place that or draw it in my block diagram. Once I draw it, so what we call it as a while loop. So actually, in other programming languages, the text-based programming languages, you have different types of while loop itself, like a do while and a normal while, all those things. So here in LabVIEW, this while loop will actually uh, work as a do while only. Okay? So a do while in the sense, first it will do all the elements present inside this loop, and then only it checks for the condition. Okay? As you know, a while loop actually works on basis of condition. Here in LabVIEW also it actually works on basis of a particular condition. Okay? As soon as I place this while loop here, you can see there are two different terminals here present inside the while loop. So this is the most important terminal here. Okay? This terminal is responsible for stopping the loop. Okay, so the stopping the loop is the most important thing when handling the loops. So yeah, as you can see, the wire is green color. Okay. I just say use this one also. Say for example, I am taking a numeric control, fine, and I'll right click on the terminal. I'll create an indicator, right? And let me take a Boolean control, and I'll create an indicator for that. Sorry, I'll create an indicator for that. And let me take a string control. So sorry for not arranging this properly here. I'll take a string control. So this is a string control, and I'll create an indicator for this. So can you see the difference in colors between the wires and also the blocks? Actually, LabVIEW has different colors for different data types. Okay, if you say numeric, right now you can see that it is orange in color, and if you say Boolean, you can see that all the wires, you can see the wire is also green in color. The control and indicator is also green. And if you say string, it will be in pink color. So in LabVIEW, each data type is being differentiated with different colors, okay, even in the wires. The reason is, so once you make any complex applications, right, you'll be having hundreds and thousands of wires running across your applications. So if we don't differentiate it with respect to colors, right, it will be very hard for the developer or the decoder to actually decode the program. Okay, so it's actually it will be very tough for anyone to decode the program. So that's the reason the wires has been differentiated with colors. And if you work with arrays and all, right, so it will also be differentiated with respect to thickness. For example, a 1D array will be having a particular thickness, and a 2D array will be having a greater thickness. So those things are also there. So just remember the colors. Orange is for numeric, green is for Boolean, and pink is for string. So here you can see the terminal is green in color. I hope you can see. So if I right click and let me create a control. Okay. So why I need this control? Okay, without this control, the code will not run. Let me delete this wire and show you. Without this control, I'll be getting a broken arrow here, okay, meaning that the code will not run. Fine. So I just need this control to be connected with this. Yes. Right now if I run the loop, you can see I've just chose the single run button. You can see my code is not stopping. The loop is keep on running, and If I click the stop button, the code will stop. So how this is happening is this terminal which I have connected this control to is called a conditional terminal. So if I move the cursor right, you can see it says loop condition. So if I send a true to this, if I send a true to this terminal, this will stop the loop. Okay. So right now, if I run the code, the button is in false state. Once I click right, so this will give true out, and that true will go inside this terminal, and it will stop the loop. So what is present here, and this also looks like a new color, right? So this gives out value. Okay, this was asking me the value, and this gives out some value. Let me create an indicator and see. So this also says numeric, and this is blue in color, meaning that numeric has just two types, as we have in other programming languages also. So the orange color which we saw is actually DBL, okay, and this is integer. So there is actually difference between DBL and an integer. So as you people know, so that's a floating point number, and this is just a whole number. You can change. Okay, this is just a representation. Right click and go to representation. If you change it to DBL, it will change to orange color. Okay? And if you change the representation to any integer, okay, so you have all types of representation here. So I stands for signed integer types, and U the unsigned integer types. So the default is I32 for this. So what this will show is the number of times the loop has executed. So using this, you can just see the speed of the loop. Let me just run it. So you can see the number of times the loop has executed by this time. Fine. So this is how a while loop works. Okay, so I know I have taken 6 more minutes.
6 more minutes.
You
6 more
read
minutes.
the steps after selecting the while loop. Okay. So yeah, after selecting the while loop, what I have did is to create a control here. So yeah, this is how your while loop will look like. Okay. So if I take it, I'll take it from structures, while loop, and you'll be having it in your cursor. Just click and drag your mouse so that you can draw it in your block diagram. And you must be creating a control for this terminal, which is the loop condition for your code to run. Okay. Until that, your code cannot be run. It shows a broken arrow. If I click that, it will show me the error. Okay, the conditional terminal is not wired. So I have to correct this for my code to run. So let me create a control for this. Okay, right click on the terminal, create control. That's it. I'll get a stop button here. So once I run my code, if I press this stop button, I'll just I'll be able to stop my loop. So why I just created the loop is, so you can also slow down the loop. So you can see if I create an indicator here, the loop will be running in a very fast rate, as you can see here. So I could have just run for 2 to 3 seconds. You can see the number of time it has executed. So it's actually in crores. Okay, so it cannot be that much fast. I'll just slow this down a bit. So for that, I'll go to in my block diagram, I'll go to timing and take this wait function. So this function, the name is wait, and it asks for milliseconds to wait. I'll right click, I'll create again a control. So in this control, I'll just say how much milliseconds to wait in between 2 iterations. So I'll give 10. Right now, if I run, it will be much slower, as you can see. Now it is moving much slower. I'll stop the loop. So why I was about to show you this loop is, let me just finally create a waveform. Okay, waveform for you. Let me take a waveform chart in your front panel. So waveform is an indicator, so that is a part of the front panel. So right click and go to graph and take a waveform chart. There is actually a difference between waveform graph and waveform chart. A waveform chart stores the history, but a waveform graph which is present here will not be able to store the history. So chart is also a numeric, can be used or can be considered as a numeric indicator, but it will be displaying in a more graphical way. Fine. So let me just show you how to create a sine wave. So you can just simulate a sine wave here. So let me go to Express VI. So I just have a problem with that Express VI. I'll go to signal processing. I'll go to waveform generation, and I have a lot of functions present under signal processing. You can work under these. So you have many subpalettes here in this LabVIEW software. You have all your mathematical functions will be present under this palette. So you have some fitting, the integration and differentiation, linear algebraic functions. All this will be present under this subpalette. You also have signal processing functions. You have all the type of the range of filters present here, and also the windows. And so you can just try installing the software and working with all the palettes which comes pre-installed with the software. So whatever I was doing was, finally I was trying to generate a sine wave. So I'll go to signal processing, waveform generation, and sine waveform. I have the function for sine waveform. Take this function, I'll pass the signal out to this waveform chart. So here I need to specify some parameters. So right click, create control for the frequency. I'll create a control for the amplitude also. So yes, I have the controls here. This can be done. So just run the code. So you can see I'm getting a sine wave actually. So let me reduce the frequency so that you can see it better. As you can see, the sine wave. So this is just a simulated wave. Okay, so you can simulate any type of waveform. So you just have to go into the signal processing waveform generation, and you have all types of waveform which can be generated. Fine. So I just want to show you this, and the another thing which I would like to show is this has many add-on modules. Okay, so this control and simulation. So you have PID, all those control design modules, and even fuzzy logic generation can be done. System identification also can be done for any type of system. Okay, so all the control system and simulation works or solutions can be done using this particular add-on. So this add-on module, which can be installed to the LabVIEW software. We also have even machine learning toolkits, so the DSC module and electrical power. So you have many add-ons to which you can just test it out, and by default, you also will have a toolkit which allow you to run your Python code in your LabVIEW software. So that is also available by default. So you could just go to connectivity and you'll find a palette called Python. So this subpalette will actually allow you to run any Python module, Python code in your LabVIEW. Okay, so this is just a interface between LabVIEW or Python, LabVIEW and Python. So this will be available from the version 2018. Okay, 18, 19, and 20 will have this particular feature in it. So I'll just stop with this. So I'll just stop with this for today's session. Actually, I've taken 15 more minutes. Sorry for that. I hope it was clear. I think tomorrow I will not have any session, and Wednesday I don't know whether I'll be handling it. So thank you everyone. I hope it was clear.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, I thank everyone for attending this session. So let's probably meet on Wednesday. So have a nice day.